Hello everyone. Today we are getting crafty, which is perfect because it is snowing outside. So it's a nice day to stay cozy and warm. And what I'm gonna make today is something I've been looking forward to making for a while now. And that is a lantern decorated with pressed flowers from my garden. Now I have some lit over here. So these are, I guess, mini lanterns, I would say, that I made last summer for a garden party. And I just have a tea light candle in here. I have some beads to keep the candle in place. And I use these on the table as decoration at the party, and then I've just been lighting them throughout the winter. I light more candles in the winter than during the summer, although I do want to make this large lantern to mostly stay inside, but also be able to take it outside with me in the evenings as well, out to the garden. So, super simple craft. All you need is some sort of glass container, a candle to fit in the glass container. I'm using Mod Podge. You want some type of adhesive that is going to dry clear. You can also do a homemade glue recipe, and I'll link that down below. It's super easy if you just have a few ingredients in your cabinet. So if you have Mod Podge on hand, great. If you want to make your own, that's great too. But again, make sure whatever you're using does dry clear. Now, even though this is called a sealer, it is not waterproof. They do have an outdoor version of Mod Podge, but even that I believe is water resistant, not waterproof. So you don't want to use this on anything you plan to keep outside that can get rained on. I wouldn't be able to wash the outside of this. I could carefully wash the inside, but don't think that you can use this and then leave it outside in the rain because it will ruin it. Then you will need paintbrushes for the glue. I have a whole bunch of sizes here. I'm not going to use all of these, but I have a bunch of sizes just so I can grab the ones that I think will work best for the flowers. And then lastly, you need flowers. And I have decided to go with the brighter colors. I wasn't really feeling pastels, maybe because it is still the middle of winter and dark at 4 p.m., but I was feeling more of the jewel tones or more saturated flowers for today. So I'm going to use 3 different colors of pansies. Now, luckily, pansies are the flower that I have pressed the most of. In fact, some of these are 2, maybe 3 years old, which is great to cover a larger container. So the ones I'm going with are pure yellow, like this here. I have different sizes. For the red ones, these are actually much more maroon/red in the garden, but when they dry, they do deepen up quite a bit. I found that more with the red ones. I feel like the yellow ones stay about the same. The blue ones maybe get slightly darker, but the red ones seem to change color the most from when they are fresh in the garden to when they are dried. And then last, I have my blue pansies, and I absolutely love this color. It's more of a blue with a little bit of purple in it, but it's absolutely beautiful. Now, I think these are the 3 color types I'm going to stick to. I do have some other flowers I'm not sure if I'm going to incorporate. So I have these pansies, which have a mix of the red and yellow, but I don't know if I want that in here, so I'm going to just see how I feel as I go along. But typically, I just like to keep my designs a little bit more simple. I do have leaves as well, but I don't feel like putting leaves on it. You can see here I did put leaves behind the pansies on these smaller ones, but just not feeling it today. So those are the flowers that I'm going to work with. For the container that I'm using today, this is actually a drink dispenser that I've somehow lost the spout. So now it's just a jar with a hole in the bottom. And it's been like this for over a year, just sitting in our pantry, waiting for me to figure out where that spout went. But I figure a year is long enough, so I'm gonna make this my lantern. But of course, you know, as soon as I do turn this into a lantern, I will immediately find the spout for this. But this is a good use for it. I think I'll actually probably use it more as a lantern than I was using it as a drink dispenser anyway. So I'm excited to get this covered. Now you can see here there is writing on these 2 opposite sides. I think I am gonna leave the writing uncovered. 1, because I like how it looks, and 2, putting pressed flowers on bumpy surfaces doesn't always look the best. So I think I'm gonna leave that inside open, but put flowers around it. Most of the flowers will be on the 2 empty sides, but I'm not gonna completely cover it. I mean, even though the light does shine through the pansies, as you can see here, I don't want it completely covered. I wanna have a good amount of clear space as well. I don't have a specific design in mind. I feel like even when I do that, I tend not to follow my plans anyway. So I'm just going to start putting on the flowers in the positions I like. And then once I feel like I'm at a good stopping point, I will stop. I am going to use my potting mat, which has actually become more of a paint mat. There's spray paint on it, there's acrylic paint on it, Now there might be some Mod Podge on it, but I want to protect my table at least a little bit. Pulling my sleeves up. So now I'm just going to dip the brush into the Mod Podge. I'm starting with the larger brush because I'm just going to go in here and start painting. Again, this will dry clear, and I am going to coat the entire jar in a layer at the end just because I find that it looks a bit odd if some parts have Mod Podge on it and some parts don't. So we'll put that on there, and then I will just choose and place the flowers. I do try to be as delicate as possible. Now, because I'm not a professional pressed flower maker, I don't treat these as delicately as I probably should, but I do at least my best not to tear or destroy them. And right now I'm just sticking a few onto places that I like. I'm gonna overlap a few, but again, not everything here. This is a much better angle here. So right now I'm just laying the flowers down, and I will be putting layers underneath each of the petal layers in order to get the entire flower set in place with the Mod Podge. And then maybe a blue right on this corner. And be gentle when you are brushing on top of the flower petals. When you're just brushing on the jar, I mean, go for it. I don't think you're gonna break the jar, but you can accidentally tear these petals when you are running the brush over them. I feel like I'm liking the look of the amount of flowers I have right now, and since it's much easier to add than to remove flowers from this, what I'm gonna do now is show you how I put the layer of Mod Podge on top of the flowers. So for this, I'm going in with a slightly smaller brush because I find that's easier to maneuver underneath the different petals of the pansies. And if you look at this blue one right here, so this petal, which does not touch the bottom of the flower, is not glued down. So all I do is take my brush, gently stick it under and do a little swipe, and then stick it over and do a little swipe. And that helps to lay the petal layers down on top of each other. So I'm gonna keep working my way around now, doing that same thing with all of the petals that I want to make sure are secured down as well, and then put a layer over this entire side. Now I'm taking the large brush again and just doing a layer over the top of everything. Again, being very gentle. All right, I'm gonna stick with this for now on that side. And now I wanna get an idea of how many flowers I wanna put around the wording on this side. I also will probably cover that hole up with a flower. All right, I think I'm at a good stopping point, so I'm gonna let this dry completely, and then we will take a look at it and see if I wanna maybe add some more or if this is a good stopping point. It's been about 15 minutes, and we're not completely dry yet, but we are dry enough, and it is clear. Plus, I'm getting impatient and wanna see how it looks lit up. I do think I stopped at a good point with the flowers because, again, I didn't want to cover it all completely because I want the light to be able to shine through pretty well. And I do like that I left this part open. Now, even though the Mod Podge does dry clear, there is still a film. So that's why I wanted to cover the entire jar with the Mod Podge, even if there wasn't a flower on a certain section, just so the film over the entire lantern looked even. And I think it turned out really nice. So now, candle into here. Now this jar luckily has a flat bottom. These I put the glass beads in because the bottom went like that for some reason. There was an indent, so the flat candle didn't stay flat, but this should be good to go. So let's light you and see how you look. Oh, I think this is gonna be so pretty. Oh, I'm so excited for this. I'm definitely gonna use this inside a lot. I pretty much light candles every single day up here. And then in the summer, I wanna take this outside, dusk going into the early evening, and have some candles out there too. And with going outside with candles, this is the best option, something in a lantern so that the wind doesn't blow the candles out if it's not protected by some sort of container. So I think this will look really nice out there. So now I need to stop touching it, and then we'll see if I find the spout. And I will let you know how quickly I find it now that this is no longer going to be a drink dispenser. So let me know if you have any questions. Again, this is super easy. I will link down below in the description the homemade glue recipe. Anything else that I think might be helpful, I'll link the video to these if you want to watch, but it's the exact same process. And I will see you in the next video.